Hello and welcome back. I'm Joe, and this is a guide for you if you are wondering how to make garbage trucks work more efficiently. This was started because there was a comment on my recent video about someone complaining about my garbage truck setup, which is totally fair because yes, it's not great. It was just like kind of in there because, and this was the claim, garbage trucks are supposed to pick up multiple things from different buildings and so be more effective. They're not supposed to just pick up a small amount and then go to their drop-off point. They're supposed to just go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until they're full. And I was just like, yeah, the developers decided that that was the thing that they wanted to do, but the game doesn't really work that way. So today, let's look at that in a little more detail. So garbage is being produced pretty much everywhere. We're just going to select this. And it doesn't matter how many trucks you have, and we're going to get into that later, but we're going to start with just one. So it can figure out, okay, the school has some garbage right over there, and that's great. So it's going to go out there and pick up the garbage. Great, 0.3 tons, and then it's going to just leave. It's not full. It's clearly not full, and there is garbage still in this school. There's some garbage in the hospital, and there's more garbage in that school, and then there's some garbage here in the shopping center. And it just left. Okay, well, maybe it was a fluke. Maybe that was just for the first time. Let's do it again. Let's go into the school. Okay. And it's still set into the customs house, and now it's saying goes to another flat, and the flat is over here. Okay, that's fine. It goes there, and now it's like, oh, it leaves. Okay, that's bad, because now we have multiple buildings that have trash overflowing. It's not just full, it's overflowing at this point, and that's bad. Okay, maybe it was just a bad setting. Let's check it out again. Comes back, gets some fuel or whatever it's doing, and it's like, okay, yeah, I can go here now, and then I'm gonna go here, and I'm gonna leave. And it just goes away. It is not doing the thing that you expect it to do, and this is where I got into just a couple weird thingies. The first thing is, the game reevaluates where it should go at road nodes, apparently road nodes only. So if you have everything connected only via footpaths and nothing else, the garbage collection kind of works really weird. Now, this is a road node right here, where a footpath connects to a road, but that is it. So what we need to do, and you probably have this naturally occurring in your normal game, add a couple road nodes. We're just doing that like this to illustrate it. But now, if we look at the same truck again, let's see what its path is. It's going to go there. Oh, it turned around. It's just like, oh, there's more stuff over here. I can go back. Okay, I get some trash from there, and it's like, okay, let's go here. There's still behavior obviously happening. There's some pathing, there's the shortest path to something, there's prioritization. There are other things that go into play here, but you have to account for a little bit, because you saw it turned around at that node over there. Okay, it goes pick up something there, picks up something here, picks up something there, and so on. It just continues doing this now up to a certain point. But I don't know if you can tell, because there's a very clear process here. It kind of goes to the same place. It kind of goes to the same places every single time it sees something that needs to be done and just picks up there again. And everyone else gets neglected. You have all of these buildings over here that don't get the trash picked up right now. So if you have a city that is heavily dependent on footpaths and not roads, meaning you have less road nodes, this is a problem, because it really just goes to the closest to the node where it actually makes a decision, and that node is right here. So it's just going to go here, it's going to turn back, and it's going to pick up something else. That's lame. That's kind of annoying and lame, because all of these need trash. So one garbage truck, even though it has the capacity, cannot go to all of these buildings at the same time, because the pathfinding and the realization that you can go somewhere else is a little funky. Okay, so how many vehicles do we need for, what do we have? 3, 6, 9, 11 Nerper flats, and a shopping center, and a cinema, and a pool, and a kindergarten, a school, and then there's also a hospital, which is also special for another reason. Well, one is not enough, so let's try another one. These are all the 6.5 ton trucks. The next truck will do something very similar. We're just going to look for how much trash it has on board whenever it drives around. But as expected, it will start getting more buildings taken care of. So it's not just it doesn't drive around just completely empty, and it uses that road node. As you can see, it needs that to make decisions. It looks like this truck is pretty much taking care of the right half, but there's this building and several more buildings over there that are not being taken care of. So are 2 trucks going to be enough? Nope. They decided that they're good to go now because of reasons, and this one only had 1.1 tons. Now, I don't have a good explanation of why they sometimes decide to go and not to keep collecting things, but it's just consider it random. At some point, it's just like, well, it makes more sense to go now, where this one is still going and this one is not. Could have something to do with how fast you play the game, but overall, it's a theme that I've seen. For example, this one, I guess it didn't have fuel. Maybe that was the reason. Where it's just like, okay, I gotta go now. It's fine. Let's just complete the circuit, and that's very possible. But that one just left at 3.5 tons, and it's not full. It's just barely 50% full. So there's some randomness going into this, and maybe how many stops it can take, how many times it can make it to a building. So when you set this up, keep that in mind. But we have 2 trucks here, and 2 trucks simply are not enough to keep this city with 11 Nerpo flats and a couple other buildings done. So that's a little bit of a problem. But there you go. Let's add a 3rd truck and see if that will solve the problem. Just because we're curious. And while the 3rd truck is starting to do its rounds, also look at this. This is a building, the hospital, that has a clear road connection and also footpath connection. I did not see a single truck taking the footpath connection to pick up trash from this building. So just be aware of that if the buildings, like we talked about before, if they don't have access to fire protection via a footpath, they won't have access to garbage collection via a footpath. So you have to make sure that you give them road connections when appropriate, which the cinema, it does have a road connection right there. It's not required because, as you can see, the garbage truck just went there. Same thing with the pool, etc., etc. So there's still that weirdness in there that if there's a parking spot inside the building, then it needs a road access for the fire and for garbage. Just be aware of that, try to play around with that, and don't rely too heavily on your footpaths. When in doubt, add a road connection. So these 3 trucks are kind of looking like they're taking care of things here and there, but they're still not quite sufficient to get everything done. And that makes sense, because another thing that you're supposed to do when you work with garbage trucks is not directly connect to all of your buildings, and this is very important. The game gives you an opportunity or an option to add these stands. There are the small garbage containers and the large ones. The large ones just use the 6.5 ton containers that are always full, so your truck will only go to one of these stands and then bring it somewhere else, which is good and bad at the same time. It's mostly good because it's more efficient. But you also have these large container stands that have a lot of garbage places. So let's change what we have going on, because 3 trucks should totally be enough. If we add garbage trucks just in a bunch of random locations to make sure that everything is kind of covered, we are going to reduce the number of trucks that are required to run this city immensely, and we should see the garbage just being funneled into these stands. And that's honestly, that's a good thing, because that means the buildings themselves will not have trash anymore. They only have a small container, and it won't fill up as far. You can see how fast this garbage stand is filling up. Be aware that trucks, the garbage trucks, will only go to one type of container stand. They're not going to go to a container stand and a residential building. They're only going to go to different container stands, or they're going to go to different buildings, but they're not going to mix those on the same trip. I'm not sure if that is common knowledge yet or not, but that's what happens. So now we have these trucks doing their thing, and they're each still not full. None of them is full. This one is 3.5 tons, but our garbage pollution is much less. Now we still have this guy over here, which seems like it's not being picked up. So there's some other logic in there to decide when someone has to go out and actually empty the garbage containers and so on. So you can just run these guys around and see that they're not really full all the time, but they are getting more. So here, this may become a problem or a function of you have too many garbage trucks now. We're still not collecting everything. Just please don't take that the wrong way. We're still not collecting everything. And I'm pretty sure our shopping center is probably not in range of a garbage stand, but that we just fixed that now. But yeah, we're still not really collecting everything because this guy's still slowly filling up. But as long as they're not overflowing, they will not create any pollution. So that's a good thing. It looks like that garbage truck is actually doing its thing right now and actually filling up all the way. So that's wonderful. But do we have too many trucks? I would argue yes. And here's one that's just going to get some hazardous waste. And once you have hazardous waste, you cannot mix that. So they can only pick up one type of waste. But it looks like this truck at least is now full, which is great. Let's look at the other 3 and see how full they are. This is 6.5. That's the good one. And then we have 2 hazardous waste trucks, but they can figure things out. So there's one that's coming back home, and now it's going back to the hospital because there's more hazardous waste waiting, and none of the other stands are full. And this may be another problem. We have this truck. Are you doing what I think you're doing? Yes. You're coming up here, picking up some garbage from somewhere. Good. And it wasn't full. Where are you going now? You're going there. Is 1.4 tons full? No, but it's more than 50% full, which I think is a reasonable approach to go here, which makes me think you're not gonna go here, but you're probably gonna go here next. So let's see if that assumption is appropriate. You're gonna go down here. There's a node, and you're gonna go to the one. Oh, you're going to the 1-tonner. Very good. You're gonna go down to the node again, and you're going to the next 1-tonner. Very good. That one is full. It hasn't picked up from here yet. That makes me a little nervous, but we are pretty much full. At this point, I think it's okay to say that one can just go out. We don't have any vehicle going here yet. Let's just wait until there's one that shows up there, because it looks like we're doing a lot of trash collection from the hospital right now. There's a truck picking up what it's supposed to pick up. Let's see where it goes next. There's a node. Very good. I found one that had at least 1 ton in it. I don't know if 1 ton or if there's a percentage that triggers the pickup from there, but as you can see, that truck is doing a lot better now. It's actually keeping the city relatively clean. Someone is going to go pick up this one now because we are at the 1 ton threshold. It's still filling up slowly. It probably has to do a lot with those things. But as you can see, a one truck setup actually does a lot of damage here, which is pretty awesome. That one, yeah, it's going to just start picking up all the things now. I think it may actually make it to all of the garbage stands. And as you can see, it's using the node that we put in the road there. There you go. There's one more. You can go all the way up here. We haven't picked up that in a while. And if we're lucky, it's even going to go here. No, it's full. It's full. It's not going to do anything else. It's just going to go out there. So that's that. Garbage containers and garbage trucks are capable of being efficient, but they don't always do it the same way, which is a little concerning, but it's not the end of the world. Now we have to solve something else. This truck is always going to the hospital and picking up some hazardous waste. Hazardous waste is bad because it creates pollution, especially at a hospital. It's probably not welcome. But yeah, this thing is always overflowing because there's just not enough room here. So there are a couple things that you can do here. Thing one, you could just continue with the small garbage stands, because right now we're using just the small trucks. So putting one of these here, and if you don't have it done yet, you can research it. You can just tell it, I want you to just fill up with hazardous waste. Now you have a lot of buffer here for hazardous waste, but we're only going to get, what, up to, well, this many containers full of hazardous waste. You're not going to, 2 tons. You can get up to 2 tons, which is not your full truck. So it's not going to be super efficient. So something that you could do is add more container stands, but here's the thing. Hazardous waste is hazardous waste, and it will create, what will it create? It will create pollution. So be careful with setting it up this way, but technically you can add yourself a bunch of hazardous waste containers that eventually you have to fill up. Now the problem is a garbage truck will just come out once this is full enough to pick up whatever garbage is sitting there, because that's its job. It's not going to wait until all of these garbage containers are full. It's just going to go once a garbage truck or garbage container is full. Let's look at the overview just with the hazardous waste. We only have 1.6 tons there. That truck, that one picked up just normal waste. Let's go check this one out. There it is. It thinks it's going to the large customs house, and that looks to be it. Yeah, we got some hazardous waste there, but we're only going to take 2.1 tons of it. So what am I trying to illustrate here? Very simple. Don't use these for trash that is not going to exist a lot in your republic. Use these for collecting residential waste. And you can separate in here if you want to. You can pre-separate a little bit, but then when you do that, make sure that you separate enough that a full truck can actually be filled throughout the residential area. It probably doesn't make a lot of sense to do that in small cities. In bigger cities, maybe, but generally, maybe just use mixed waste, because look at this. We mostly are worried about burnable waste and some bio waste. There's nothing in metal, in terms of metal or anything else like that. And once you get into that situation, I would probably say build several of these larger stands for the smaller containers, like so, and just dedicate them. So in this case, this is all mixed waste. Cool. And I will just say this one will all be bio waste. If you do this enough times, then there is a good chance that once one of them is full, another one in the city is also going to be full. And this one is slowly filling up. No, yeah, 0.3 tons. So really nothing. We're not producing a lot of bio waste. But you can separate them that way, and then the trucks can still make efficient trips. Now, this is all only important if you are heavily reliant on footpaths. If you're not heavily reliant on footpaths, I highly recommend you use the stands for big garbage containers. There are two sizes. There's this one, and there is this one. Pick whichever size you want. I don't think it makes a huge difference. And as far as I know, they do not create pollution until they overflow. Once they overflow, you have to do something about them. But this is a great place to put one of these. And then I will just say, I want some hazardous waste going in here, maybe some bio waste because we're here, and the rest we can probably just leave as regular waste if they want to. The problem is now, the technical service will tell you no garbage truck for big containers. That's no problem. You just select whichever one you want. And this one won't leave until the whole container, the whole 6.5 tons of hazardous waste are done. And just to make sure that we're not missing something, we can just put a pollution monitoring station right here. Perfect. And we will just see if there's any actual pollution happening. And it looks like just for hazardous waste in that area, we do get some pollution. So be aware of that. I think that is more related, though, to the hospital had a hazardous waste that was overflowing briefly. Now that we are actually collecting it in a better container, it looks like the pollution is getting a little better. It's not perfect, but it's getting better. It's not dark red, and our hazardous waste is actually ticking up. So, yes, what I said earlier, where trash is only polluting when it overflows, is still correct. So be aware of that. So for hazardous waste, just make sure that you don't overflow. And the larger containers can be very helpful for that, I think. Cool. The trucks are just parking here now because we don't have that many people living in the city anymore. But there's still trash being collected, trash being produced, but nothing is overflowing. And with what I just told you, you should be able to go relatively efficient about everywhere in the city. I hope all of that made sense. We're just going to wait until the hazardous waste is done and over with, which will trigger this truck to actually pick up its thing. There you go. Picked it up. No pollution. Again, hope that helps someone. And yeah, we're just gonna keep going because the waste update is pretty fun. It adds a lot of mid and end game decisions and complications that I think we will all really appreciate. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, like and subscribe. Maybe become a Patreon or a YouTube member, and I'll see you again next time. Bye bye.